This is a deep dive video about the newest UFO whistleblower to come forward, Jason Sands. The reason I'm making this is because in my video yesterday about Jason, I made a claim that he had killed a blue alien. Well, he has responded on Twitter and denied that claim. So this video is in response to that. Let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. Please hit that like button, vetters. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there. And of course, comment down below. What do you think of this video? And please stay tuned to the end because the last clip I'm going to play is honestly quite a bombshell. So I have got a lot to play. Again, this is a deep dive. It's going to be a long video, so just sit back, relax, and let's get this going. First, let's start with Jason Sands' response here. He says, yes, that's why I joined the chat last night. I do want to address to inaccuracies from people that are blogging today. Number one, I didn't kill any blue aliens. Okay, I'm not blogging. Number two, I should have been very clear that I was part of the UAP forum and not employed by the UAP task force. That will come into play later. So quickly, a little backstory here, right? I made the video, right, saying that basically, right, he'd killed a blue alien. Now, I heard this from a person named Nicole Sakic, who had come on the podcast with Grant Cameron. Now, Nicole and I talk behind the scenes. I talk with a lot of people. Everyone does, right? Just kind of talk. Now, granted, I confirmed with her earlier today after my video came out. That was just a rumor, all right? So nothing against Nicole. She's amazing. Love what she does for the community. And it's just, you know, these things happen. This all coming out every which way, y'all. So there's a lot of stuff flying around. But I wanted to be very clear that, you know, this wasn't just information I made up. And Nicole has been in contact with Jason and other people you're going to find out about in this video. Okay, so we're going to clear all this up. But, you know, again, I don't have anonymous sources. So just being very clear about that. But that's where we're at with that. So again, I might be able to answer some more questions about that later, but for now, let's just dive into this. So, all right, we finally have got some clips of Jason Sands, the first part of the interview that wasn't available yet, okay, when I made the video yesterday. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of clips of Jason's interview, other interviews, all kinds of stuff, okay? Again, there's a lot going on in this video. Go down, links in the description for everything I'm going to show today. So let's start with a clip here of Jason Sands, again, the new UFO whistleblower who came forward over the weekend, talking about a lot of different stuff. This is literally the first part here. He's going to take on some questions from people, and I find it very interesting, some of his responses. So let's listen in.
Hopefully later this year, I'll get to have an opportunity to speak with them as well, and actually have more public appearances. That's what I've been working on this past couple of years. Matter of fact,
dude, and I honestly think this gains more respect to come on and do that. You know, like coming on and being transparent and taking questions like this. So we'll keep it going. We got a bunch of hands up. So thanks again, Jason. Skyfire, and then you know, Steve Greenstreet got his hand up too. So we'll jump around to the room. What's up, guys?
All right, sweet. Thank you, Jason. Red for Skyfire News. Can you speak a little bit more about this forum that we're hearing people talk about, where it sounds like UAPTF people are there, speaking about UFO-related matters? And is there anything in the public domain that you think people should look into or that you felt was validated as a result of information you learned in that forum?
In the forum, I would say that yes, I totally respect everybody that has contributed and everybody in their expertise levels. And
real quick, pay attention here, okay? UAP forum, UAP task force. This is going to come into play here, okay?
Whether they agree or don't agree with UAP, it's been fantastic, honestly. I love hearing both sides of it. And at the same time, what is it? Well, are you looking for something in particular about what it's telling us? Because I don't know how to address that part of your question.
Real quick, shout out to Logan Black, who provided this recording. Again, links in the description. He was able to get this recorded during the space that wasn't being recorded, got this uploaded, and it was available after I made my video yesterday. Okay, I tried to get it beforehand, but so shout out to Logan Black. Guys, go check out his channel and check out this video. It's a 5-hour recording. I have picked different parts that we're going to listen to. All right, again, deep dive today.
Any cases or anything in the public that you felt like extra validated? I know when we asked the previous guy the Wilson Davis memo, so anything like that's already public that you felt thought had credence?
Well, I can tell you that in the forums that yes, that the Wilson memo definitely was had arguments for both for and against it. I am for the fact that yes, that memo is correct, and it does sound very genuine to me. And I've been asked several different times in several different ways about it. And being an analyst myself, I think it's legit. That's my opinion. I'm welcome to my opinion. You can disagree with it or not. And even my friends, we sometimes disagree, but that's good to debate it because sometimes the truth is outed that way. But for right now, I've heard the arguments both for and against, and I think that, yeah, the Wilson memo is legit.
Nice. All right, Stephen, what's up? I'll go ahead, throw it to Green Street. We've got a bunch of hands up too. What's up, man?
Jason, thanks for taking questions. Is Jason Sands?
So real quick, he's saying that to him, the Wilson memos are correct, right? And for those that don't know, the Wilson memos are Eric Davis and Admiral Wilson having a conversation 20 years ago, over 20 years ago in the back of a car. And Eric Davis is doing an investigation. He is coincidentally one of David Grush's 40 whistleblowers, and he's having a conversation with this admiral who is trying to get information on UFO programs, and they just proceed to have this conversation, and the admiral just sort of opens a can of worms about all this stuff that's happening, right? And that Eric Davis took notes, wrote them down. They leaked out, years and years later, and no one's ever known if they're real or not. Admiral Wilson has denied them being real. Eric Davis won't comment on it, and it's just left up in the air, right? So that's what they're referring to.
Your real name?
Yes.
Let me go back.
Thanks for taking the question.
We've got a bunch of hands up too.
So this is Stephen Greenstreet, and everyone knows I'm not a fan of Stephen Greenstreet, but these are good questions he's about to ask. All right, so pay attention. And pay attention to the way he answers if Jason Sands is his first name. Okay? Just listen.
Jason, thanks for taking questions. Is Jason Sands your real name?
Yes.
Okay. And I joined late, so if you shared this information, I apologize.
Yes. I don't know. If someone asked me if Patrick Armstrong was my real name, I'd kind of probably chuckle first. Like, what? Yeah, it's my real name. Why would I, But I don't know. That's interesting. Just saying. That's an interesting answer. What a great question to ask, too, to be honest with you. I don't know. What do y'all think?
You were part of the UAP task force?
Yes.
Okay. When were you part of the UAP task force?
From 2021 until Arrow stood up.
Oh, okay. Wow. So were you there? You weren't there when Jay Stratton was there.
I think if he was there, it was just that first year I was in
yeah, because he left January 2021. So you served with Brennan McKernan?
Yeah.
Okay, with Brennan McKernan. Okay. I spoke to a few UAP task force analysts, some of which you probably also worked with. I won't name them, but a few of them spoke about the hitchhiker phenomena. Are you familiar with the hitchhiker phenomena?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Over there at Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah.
Okay. And they had personal experiences with the hitchhiker phenomena. Have you had any personal experiences with the hitchhiker phenomena, or are you familiar with anyone close in these programs that have experienced a hitchhiker?
I have not. However, I do have some friends that have. Yes.
Okay, and then interesting. Okay, and then
And that's, of course, about Skinwalker Ranch. So he's saying he has friends that have effectively, the hitchhiker effect is you go to Skinwalker Ranch, something happens to you. Well, not, it can be anywhere. Something happens to you there. And then when you leave, things keep happening to you. Like it followed you, it hitchhiked with you back wherever, you know, your house or whatever. And people have said they've experienced that from Skinwalker Ranch. So Jason is saying that, yeah, he has friends that, pardon me, clearly are connected to Skinwalker Ranch.
you mentioned the blue alien or the blue entity, but you stopped yourself short from getting into too many details, saying that we would have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Wait and see for what?
Well, it's just I know James Fox. I go over all that in James Fox's film. I don't want to spoil it for him or you guys, and that's
Uh,
I'm holding back is because I know he's working real hard on it. So
okay, so for a movie, okay, and then is there?
I mean, I don't know what to think about that. I'm sure the comments, you know, him holding back certain things for a movie, but he's going to come out in this Twitter space. I think that's going to piss off a lot of people, right? And I can understand, but I can also understand James Fox's sentiment. He's working on this documentary. He's trying to get it out, spend a lot of money on it, bring us a lot of information, bring us a lot of details, and then, you know, it gets spoiled. So I can understand, but I don't know.
Reason why you decided to be a whistleblower on Twitter Spaces rather than going to like the Washington Post or mainstream media?
well, this one, well, those are all possibilities of to do all those kinds of things. This one seemed to be a good discussion tonight, and I wanted to be part of that because it seems that there's been a few other times when my name has been mentioned. I felt bad that I couldn't participate at that time because I was still going through my DOPSR process, which is your pre-publication thing.
You still can. Like, this is an opportunity for you guys to connect and make an article for the Washington Post. Like, you guys can fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Here it is.
Correct. And that's the whole thing is that,
Well, Stephen Greenstreet works for the New York Post, not the Washington Post.
the opportunity is always there, but, I'm not a glory seeker or anything like that. I've just wanted to set the story straight. I'm working towards my retirement just like everybody else. And I feel like this is the only time, this is the generation where I've seen all the celestial bodies kind of aligning on this topic.
Are you still in government? Are you still in? You are still in government. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I did not know that. Okay, you're still in. So, what agency are you in?
I'd like to leave them out of that. Because my employer knows that I am a whistleblower, and I promised them that I wouldn't mention them at all because I don't want to do that.
Okay, what's the best piece of evidence you have to support the story you're telling?
I guess it's just that I've been verified through Congress, Arrow, the ICIG. You can still get into the systems and see what I was read into. Yeah, I've been to the places I've said I've been. People have looked up my medical records, up my yin yang, and all of them have said, yeah, he's who he says he is. That's the best evidence I can tell you is that's there. I'm not going to carry out. I've never carried a UFO on my back if that's what you're getting at. That's an impossibility. And being able to drop it like in Sean Kirkpatrick slap, I couldn't.
So you know where they are, right?
Please do.
Do you know where they are? Do you know where the UFOs are?
He spoke with Arrow.
I have a good idea, but they could have moved them since then. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for taking my questions.
Yeah.
They could have moved them since then. That's interesting.
Thanks, guys. I know. Go ahead, Kimmel.
I just was curious to know from Jason or Steve why they felt the need. I mean, did this all culminate with Steve's story with Courtney, or was it actually Courtney's story that I know she said she was in contact? The NSA basically reached out to Courtney because of your story,
Yeah.
and
Okay, so there's a couple names being mentioned. Don't worry, we're gonna cover them. Steve, okay, put a pin in it. Steve, that is very important. That is connected to the last clip I'm gonna play in this video that may or may not rock your mind. I don't know, but I don't know what to think about it. And Courtney, she's a podcaster, and she's going to come into play into this in a moment here in this video.
she eventually had a space with Steve, and I've talked a whole bunch with Steve over the past 48 hours, but I just am wondering what's causing you to come forward right now when you are.
Well, I'm a thoughtful guy. I'm also a, somebody who's approachable, and I do listen. I've known Courtney for quite a bit now. I think since about New Year, I've known her. We've talked, and she's visited me here where I am, and we get along pretty good. And I've always intended to talk to her, some other really great people like Leslie Kane and James Fox, and Chris Mellon, all these really great names and stuff like that. I'm very honored that they're all out there doing great work. But since New Year's, when people saw that little video of James Fox with my name on the clapperboard, I've been wondering myself that, I know I'm working towards publication, but I don't have that yet. But I just got that approved through the Dopser program last month. So
Wow.
I couldn't let Courtney or Leslie Kane or anybody else run with the story, or Colt Hart or Jeremy Corbell or anybody else that would be interested in that sort of thing. I just really wasn't ready. But this is the month where all that is taken care of. I've got all my legal blocks gone through. I've gone through Congress, the Whistleblower program, like I said earlier. I've gone through the ICIG. I've been through Arrow. I've done all of it. I've done everything by the numbers, just like David Grush did. So,
Jason, I'll just say it again, man. Sir, thank you for doing what you're doing.
So that's interesting, right? There's a lot to unpack there, y'all. I'm just going to leave it to y'all in the comments to unpack that. We got to move on. There's just a lot of clips. Okay, so if you remember during that interaction, Stephen Greenstreet, so this is from Joe Murcia, right? Here, hang on. Let me switch here. Says, not good. Stephen Greenstreet asks, you were part of the UAP task force, Jason Sands. Yes. SG, were you part of the UAP task force? Or when were you a part of it? Jason Sands, from 2021 until Arrow stood up. Stephen Greenstreet, you were there when Jay Stratton was there. Jason Sands, I think if he was there, it was just that first year I was in. Stephen Greenstreet, because he left in January 2021, so you served with Brendan McKernan. BM headed up the UAPTF after Stratton left. Yeah, right, because if you look down here, remember this. Remember in the response to Vetted here? Because remember, I'm the only one that reported that he killed the alien. It was just Vetted. So he's clearly talking to us. Right here, he says at number 2, the other point he wanted to clear up. I should have been very clear that I was part of the UAP forum and not employed by the UAP task force. But here he clearly, you were part of the UAP task force? Yes. It's not like he misunderstood that. When were you a part of it? I mean, he starts to say that years and everything he was there and under whose leadership and stuff. And now he's confused. He wants to clear that up. He was part of the UAP forum, which I'm still confused on what this UAP forum is. I think it's just like a, little group of people that chat about this. How do you get that confused with the UAP task force? And like Jay Stratton and asking who the leadership is. You know what I mean? It's like, that makes zero sense. So, no offense, but me getting called out for, saying that he killed a blue alien and he's saying he didn't. How do we know that's not still true? How do we know his story isn't going to change somehow again? Sorry, remember when I said I didn't kill any blue aliens, right? He's not saying he didn't kill any aliens. I'm just saying. I don't know. Just it's hard, like what do we say here, right, to all this? This just doesn't line up for me. Anyway, let's go on to the next clip.
So we talked earlier. So you were in signals intelligence. So I just what I would like to do, if that's okay, is build a timeline. Right. I know you had a long career in the Air Force. Again, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. From one airman to another. So from there, can you kind of give us a timeline? Because it seems like I think you said you got out in 2000. What was it? 2007.
Yeah.
And so that's ironically when I got out. So from there, where did you kind of go? Because obviously you probably stayed in the intel community. And how did you come across UAPTF and became a I guess employee or whatever you want to call it? How did that happen? Did they seek you out? Did you apply to them? How did that work?
In 2021, well, let's straighten out the timeline.
So he's already being asked, how are you an employee of the UAP task force? And he's going to go into telling the story. Never does he say, no, well, I wasn't actually part of the UAP task force. I was part of the UAP forum. Right? He's not correcting any of this, right?
Went through, retired in 2007, as I said. Then I became a contractor, DoD contractor, pretty much through and through, where I was doing all kinds of different things from software testing to intelligence, subject matter expert. What else have I done? I helped DHS do some of their accreditation for some of the federal systems, or the Stennis Space Center, and worked for AFCENT during the Afghan era of things. Just various things where I was just using my skill sets the best I could. When I got involved in the task force, I ended up in working as an instructor down in Florida.
When I got involved with the task force, right? Okay.
And at that point in 2021, when it was kind of the task force was still building up the academia. The way that the forum is generated is that you can you have to, number one, be in the intel community, which I was. Even as an instructor, I'm still considered, part of the IC because I'm teaching IC people. That's one of the criteria you have to have. And then on top of that, you just have to be able to contribute something. And I guess what I was able to contribute was my background and the knowledge of some of the Black World programs that we have, so that the task force was not wasting time on frivolous matters that, hey, this is one of ours. We don't have to worry about that. Let's move on to something else that's more conducive to the limited resources we have. So that's kind of where I got introduced to that. And that was in 2021 when I came across the forum and then became part of the forum. Was 2021.
Awesome.
Chris, if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
He does say part of the forum there, right? So it's a little confusing. Just saying it's confusing, okay? His story kind of is all over the place. And maybe there's just some misinterpretation of definitions. I'll give him that. Potentially, I don't know. I'm just saying things just don't really line up. Regardless, he's in the intelligence community teaching other intelligence members, right? I don't know. Just find that interesting. And he still works for the government, he's saying. But he said he retired from the Air Force, and now he's still working for the government, but doesn't want to tell his company that he's a whistleblower. I don't know. All right, look. Next clip. You know what? Actually, let me finish this clip. So that'll get us to our next part.
And then we'll get to Courtney right after that.
Yeah, just give me real quick. So, Jason, you mentioned cadre and instructor. I'm assuming you said instructor to intel. Would that be instructor to military intelligence, or would that be just like within the government agencies?
Well, to joint cyberspace planners, that's who I was instructing, who are also part of the intel community, where you have to teach people how to take useful intelligence.
Joint cyberspace. Okay, cyberspace intel.
A proper plan. Teach people how to, who are also part of the intel community, where you have to teach people how to take useful intelligence, create a proper plan, and execute it. That's kind of what I was doing, is mentoring people. I'd be going to all the combatant commands and teaching each of them. And that's what I did for about 10, 15 years.
10, 15 years is interesting. Is it 10 or 15? That's a huge difference. I don't know if that means anything, but that's interesting.
That's pretty weird coincidence, because AKA was naval cyber intelligence. Did you happen to teach him?
I could have. I've met thousands of students, honestly. And I get like when I worked over here at NSA for a while recently, that I run into people all the time. Hey, Jay,
Worked at NSA recently. And guess who reached out to Courtney? Remember, they said NSA. Separate from Jason. And he's been teaching intel. The intelligence community, right? I don't know, man. There's just so much to this, right? So far, listen to all the things that are happening. It's like trying to piece all these puzzles together. It really is going to be everyone's journey to decide about this guy. Granted, some evidence would help, because without evidence, that's what happens. People start to pick apart the story because we have nothing else to go off of except the story and trying to piece puzzle pieces together, right? If there was evidence, that's what we would be going over. The only evidence is his testimony, right? So it's just, God, this is a lot to go through. This again, we're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Like, I don't remember your name. I know your face, but jog my memory. So I could have met AKA. I honestly,
I don't know who that is, AKA.
So I'd have to look at his face. I'm better with faces than I am names.
Thanks, Jason. So we're gonna go ahead. I want to give Courtney. She just got up here, but she kind of broke.
Remember, Courtney? Pay attention.
All of this through Steve. So, Courtney, if there's anything you want to say, go ahead. If not, we'll go to Tom.
Yeah. Hey, Jay. Fancy meeting you here. I was on a space earlier today. It was kind of like a post-op of Steve's space yesterday. And I just want to say, I know I've said this to you personally, but I'm going to say it to the community here that I'm sorry that you felt, pressured in any way to have to come out into the community, because I know how difficult it can be, for one. And there's a lot of conspiracy. I'm really glad that you're speaking about your direct experience in this space. It sounds like it's been good for you, and I'm really glad for that. But I do know that my role in this kind of forced you or pressured you or, forced your hand to come out into this public way, which was not necessarily on your timing. So I just want to say to everybody that, this is real difficult, especially for me, having had a role in this, forcing him to come out before maybe he was ready. And I do hope that people in the community, it sounds like from what I've heard, are being respectful and kind and taking your story seriously. I think that's really good. And you know that you're my hero. and I respect you, and I'm glad you're doing this. I was surprised to hear you were in here tonight. And I just hope people continue to have an open mind. People can believe what they want to believe. But in bringing Steve's story out, I just felt it was a privilege to both know both of you, for one, but also it wasn't just my private privilege. I always wanted to hear your story when it came out. And I'm sorry if it's come out too soon and it wasn't on your timing. That's all I want to say.
So this is Courtney, again, a podcaster who was reached out to, right, and got to know Jason Sands and another person named Steve. Again, pin that name, Steve. We're going to come back to that later. But now let's hear from Courtney herself. Here she is on a show called Spaced Out Radio, okay, with Dave Scott, who also has been talking to Jason Sands. And we've got a few clips we're going to be going back and forth with them both. But let's hear from Courtney and Dave Scott here. I've got this clip queued up. Here we go.
Directly what people want to know.
All right, let's start off with Pixie Lara here. Could you recap Jason's experience, please?
Yeah, so I learned about Jason's experience through what ended up happening was James Fox, when he was on set, he had the clapboard where you cut, and you begin and end each scene. And Jason Sands' name was on the clapboard. And so was another whistleblower who was interviewed for the film, the program, or the programs. I'm not exactly sure if it's plural or not, but so he was just taking, pictures, screenshots, and then he put them on Twitter. And so the names got leaked to the public. So that's how this all got started. Then what happened was.
So real quick, before the next part, let me show you guys this right here. Okay. Right here. This is the picture they're talking about. Okay, with the clapboard. All right, and if we zoom in, see right there, that name is supposed to be Jason Sands, right? And he had to take it down. James Fox took it down, because it revealed his name. People zoomed in on it and saw it. We're like, holy cow. All right, let's go back to this clip here. So that leaked out, right? And kind of got a few people found out about it, and then it went silent.
I didn't see that, but I got the names because somebody sent them to me and said there's 2 more whistleblowers coming out. And so, of course, I was really excited. Dave knew them as well.
The other whistleblower, I don't know the name. So in that screen grab, you can only see Jason Sands. So I don't know what, I haven't seen the other screenshot. I didn't see that when that happened with James Fox. I didn't know anything about that till all this came out. But that's interesting, right? So that leaks out, and maybe that's why they were like, okay, we gotta just come out with this. But I don't know who this other whistleblower is. It could be the other guy that I told in my story, right? There was a guy that potentially gave Jason the order to kill the alien, which he says he did not kill an alien. Again, I guess that was just a rumor. But that's interesting. Who's this other whistleblower? Now, remember when, I should bring this up real quick before I continue. I made a video not too long ago about James Fox. He had tweeted out a picture, Military X, coming up in his documentary. That's the name, Military X. Well, Military X, it turns out, is Jason Sands. Courtney's about to reveal that. And that's interesting. So now James Fox in his documentary, he's got to recut that. He's public now. Right? I think James Fox is going to have to recut his entire documentary because of this. In what way, I don't know. Maybe he'll include all of this that's happening. Maybe a clip from Bedded. But that will be interesting. How will that affect? How will Jason Sands coming out early affect James Fox's new documentary?
Well,
I don't know.
So I started working on the names to see if I knew people who could help me vet these contacts. And I did have mutual contacts with Jason Sands. So one of the contacts knew Jason Sands' story from the UAP task force. He had seen his story on the forum, which is essentially like this group chat things for people who have classified clearance, TSI clearance. They can communicate together between different departments on certain problems. So
you're telling me Jason Sands was confused about being on the UAP task force and being a part of a group chat? Come on now. What are we talking about here? Okay. I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot to this story to keep straight. That's all I'm going to say there. Let's continue.
He had shared with a friend of mine who knew I had his name that he had seen a being, a being out in the desert, out in Nellis Air Force Range, out in the range, and he had had a telepathic communication with this being. And so that's what Dave and I reported, back in January, kind of before we should have reported it, because nobody else had the story. I did vet the story. I did get other people to verify it was true, but I didn't go to Jason and ask him specifically. So we ran with the story, and that what ended up happening is we had to take it down because he is a federal whistleblower, and we wanted to protect him. So I got to know Jason through that whole process. I apologized to him for putting the story on SOR probably before it was ready. But in that process, I got to learn about him, his experience, his Air Force experience, his intelligence experience, and he essentially shared, what he testified to and everything. So that main story is the story that he told on SpaceX last night. But then he also went into great detail about all of his other experiences, and he theorized a little bit about what he thinks is going on. But he basically did testimony to everybody who asked questions. But that was the story. That's the essence of the story of what his experience was. He had an NHI direct contact in the desert.
Yeah. And now there's all sorts of stories kind of going around here. He was on a I don't know the proper military term, and I apologize. He was not an employee at Area 51. Let's clear that up. He was on there on a training exercise, I believe, when this happened.
We'd have to clear that with him, because I've heard a couple different things now, so I would have to run that by him. So I'm not.
I've heard a couple different things now. Just saying.
Exactly sure.
She's not even sure. I'm just saying, man.
I'm going by what he told me. So
he was in a convoy. He was told.
See, Dave Scott was told one thing. She was told another.
By a superior not to stop in the desert, to keep moving, even if they saw anybody out in the desert. And they were in the convoy and they saw somebody in a military uniform and fatigues. So they thought it was a service member. So they stopped, and they realized it wasn't a human being. It was some other type of being. And so he asked if he needed help. And then the being said he needed an element for his ship. That was part of the original story. And then he started to speak with him telepathically, where they had a telepathic conversation and the being communicated with him that way. That was the essence of his experience.
All right.
So there's that. But real quick, let's take a look at this. So right here, right, the whole clapboard, Jason Sands, and you heard Jason earlier in the video talking about why he decided to come out, all this stuff. Well, this is Facebook. Okay? Look at this. This is months ago. Someone post, and this is public, mind you. You can see that. It's a public post. Darkstar is looking for a SRCI specialist to fill a position at Fort Meade, Maryland. Click the link to apply. Darkstar Intel. which sounds so, mischievous and like, Dr. Evil. Like this is, you're going to be working at a volcano base. Like, I don't know, Dark Star Intelligence. I mean, anyway, I'm sure it's a lovely place. Jason Sands responds, I'd love to hear more. And I'm a UAP whistleblower, LOL. A month after the post, mind you. Annie liked this post. I'm just saying, why? What? So he's kind of outing himself. I don't think Courtney needs to feel bad. Anybody needs to feel bad for anything, right? The NSA reaches out to Courtney, and Jason admits to working for the NSA briefly previously, right? Not too long ago. Just interesting. And why was this story floating around to everybody, right? Again, I was told about it, and I was like, I'm not making I'm not making a video on this. When it comes out in James Fox's documentary, I'll talk about it. Because all kinds of stuff gets talked about. I don't know what to believe. You know what I mean? When I see it get talked about publicly, then I'll comment on it. But all kinds of stuff gets talked about. People hear all kinds of things. It's just how it goes. So, but then when I hear Jason Sands is out, okay, I tell my story I heard. And, and who told it to me. But again, just rumors, people talking. I have nothing but, the utmost respect for Nicole. In fact, this is just things, everybody's just trying to figure out what's going on. Okay? That's all it is. But I'm just saying, this guy's story is just interesting. But I don't think anybody needs to feel bad for it coming out, this, that, the other. All right, let's go to the next clip. Now, this is Steve. Okay, we've heard about Steve, right? Remember I said put a pin in it, right? This is Steve. And Courtney, here she is. Marchesani, I believe that's how you say it. With Steve, okay? I don't think that's his real name. Has the same, sort of profile as Jason Sands, which is interesting because Jason says that is his real name. I don't know if I actually buy that, but I don't know. Who knows? And right, Steve isn't using his real name. He's staying more anonymous, but they're connected. Jason and Steve are connected. Now, maybe Steve is this other whistleblower, again, who's going to be coming out. But basically, the stuff he tells is quite interesting. But let's just hear from Steve real quick, right? Just this little introduction to who this guy Steve is. Again, Courtney is having a separate Twitter recording with him before Jason Sands comes out. Jason Sands comes out after this recording. Again, links in the description. Go check it out. This is 2 hours long, but this is just a little snippet. And again, have another snippet at the end that is going to rock your world from this guy, Steve. So let's listen.
I did meet Steve. I would say it was about 4 months ago where we connected. We had mutual friends who connected us, and then we have been working together on UAP research, and it's been pretty incredible. The things that we've been able to uncover and detect together, and a lot of different research lines. So I'm really excited to introduce him to the community. He's never been out in the community. This is his first foray into discussing his work, his background, and I'm just really privileged to have him in my space today. So, Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the next question. So if you could give us a little background of who you are and why these folks, should listen to you.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Let me go ahead and set the stage. So I am a former member of the intelligence community. I'm not going to give my affiliation of which organization I was in, because I am going to push the envelope today in what I can say. And I don't want any heat coming in on me, right? And, I have a family, I have a regular life, right? I want to continue living it, just the way it is. But I was a former military. I was in for 4 years. I enlisted I enlisted when I was 18. I was infantry. Didn't do anything that exciting. Went to college after that. I did do a few deployments, but went to college after that. Got a liberal arts degree. And then I knew I wanted to work in the intelligence community. So I started out having a low-level security job, and then got into operations like almost immediately. And so I've been doing. I was in the organization I worked for. I was there for 16 years, 5 years as a contractor, 11 years as an actual staffer. I got to the level of GS-13, which not that high, still working level. I left the organization in 2 years ago, and the type of work I did. I'm not going to make it the focus of this conversation today, just because it's not super important, right? It was traditional intelligence work. Yeah, that's about all I'm going to say about it. I was in operations, so I was not an analyst. I wasn't a science and tech guy. I was in operations. I did work. I will say I worked in so human intelligence. So yeah, I think that kind of covers it.
Human intelligence. Just saying. I don't know. There's just a lot of odd things. I don't know. Getting very confused here. Anyway, let's go to the next clip. I don't know. Just intelligence keeps coming up, and it's hard to trust people from the intelligence community, and they just seem to all be connected. And, why come out in a Twitter space? This, of all just the way the seeds come out. Going to nothing against Courtney, but going to Courtney and making a connection with her, a podcaster, right? I just don't understand what's happening, right? To be honest with you, with a lot of this. And, Courtney's seems like a super sweet person. She's just trying to find out what's going on as well. That's the thing. I hope we are all being respectful about this, right? Nobody needs to hate on anybody. Nobody's doing anything, wrong. We're just, podcasters and creators like myself, we're just, doing what everyone takes their own path. I don't do the things that they do. Have research and have all these sources and all these, talking. I have conversations with people, but just honestly, it's a lot of just general talk about certain things and whatever, you hear certain things. Yeah, I heard this, I heard that, but it's not very serious, if you know what I mean. Now, some people do get serious, and they got contacts and, friends in the NSA and CIA, that's the thing. I don't do any of that. Okay? I don't have any sort of, again, turn down all that. I don't want any of that stuff. But look, it's just a web that is so woven three-dimensional. It's a three-dimensional spider web, just like a ball, just for infinite, forever, going every which way. It's a lot to keep track of names, dates, events, right? If you're barely into this, trying to keep a hold of all this, impossible. Even for people who are into this is hard. There's a lot going on. And people will just focus on a few things and go, that's why I believe it, because this. And just like there's this mountain iceberg of data underneath it. And this is one of those things. There's an iceberg of data here. I think making, to each their own, but I think making a rash decision, either way, not believing or believing this guy based on one or two things, there's a lot to take in here. That's what this video is, sort of deep dive, help connect some of these dots, at least for you. You connect the dots you want. But I just found all this very interesting, the way this all plays out. All right, listen, let's go over into the next clip here. Let me just play it and we'll get going here.
Well, here you go. In my mind, it's very simple. I knew from day one, from being read in, that the NHIs were not classified at all. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, if there's another civilization out there and they are working with us, they're not going to care what classification guidance we use. They're going to come with their own set of laws, and they will probably likely want to be treated like an embassy wherever they're staying. And that's kind of how I would imagine that's exactly how they run it. And that's what I was told how they run it. And so that
I would imagine that's how they run it, and that's how I was told how they run it. So, okay. He because he's gone through DOPSA review, right? Government telling them, what you got to get pre-publication, right? You got to submit data, and you're trying to write a book or something, right? You want to submit this stuff, and then they'll tell you if you can release it, because if there's classified stuff, they have you change it, right? So a lot of people that have worked for the government, especially classified, they have to submit this, right, and get it approved. So he has done that, right? Other people have, David Grush, Lou Elzano. Okay, list goes on. All right. So Jason Sands has done that. And the reason how he can talk about NHI openly, right? Because it's not classified, because they have their own laws. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? We have our own laws. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we would still classify it. If we had a connection, right, we would still classify it on our end. The idea that NHI, non-human intelligence, ET, we wouldn't classify that. The interactions with them and you know what I mean? I don't understand the point here.
part of it is totally unclassified. Now, the classified part, yeah, that's the program. That's what those are the
Why would the program be kept, but not the ET, right?
weapon systems. Those are the technologies that we need to keep our national security alive. That will always be a classified thing. So just, that's the veil. It's a very simple one in my mind.
It's like if you were to ask details about the class he taught, right, as an instructor, right? He would be like, I can't give that to you, it's classified. But he can talk about this. Come on now. Right? How is this any less important? Right? I don't get it. I guess is that why it's a whistleblower, because he's going against the grain. He's not supposed to talk about it, but he is. I don't know. All right, let's move on to the next clip. We got a lot to go through here, y'all. All right, hang on. Stay with me. Stay with me. Oh, the comments are going to be crazy on this one. I don't know. If you're still with us, thanks for hanging in. This is one of the longest videos I've ever made, by far. But we need to do it. This is special in the sense that everybody's talking about this. This is a big deal. This is everywhere.
Time and the date, and also all the different people that he made agreements to and commitments to about the media stuff that he already agreed to. So he'll probably do all of that like he had planned anyway. But I don't think that he's going to come back out.
What are the dangers of what he did? Is there
I don't think he's going to come back out. So from here until James Fox's documentary, which is in the summer, which who knows if this affects it, or was this done as promotion for the film? For James Fox film, because we're all talking about it. Who's not going to want to see James Fox's new documentary now? Right? Let's be real. No matter what, this is just all promotion for James Fox's documentary, which, let's be real, I'm happy for James. I want to see that movie more than anything now. Right? Because Jason is saving parts of his story, so he's teasing this out, in my opinion, I don't think James Fox is mad, or his producers or anybody, part of the film or whatever. I don't think they're mad at all. No way. This is like great press. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Come on, right? They want to have a big push here. So, I don't know. Just saying. So, but he's not going to do any more interviews because, of course, I tried, right? Not going to happen. And many people, I'm sure, have tried, right? And that's what that space was. But that's not really giving an interview. You get to ask a question or two, but he's not going to do any more. And nobody is prepared. Like I couldn't show up to that. It was on a Saturday night, busy, right? So, anyway, let's continue. Late Saturday night just comes out on a Twitter space, which is like this blue alien story.
Any danger to him? Is there any danger to the whistleblowers that might not have or might have been considering coming out?
I mean, I think that there's always dangers when, you make this kind of decision, but I know that he put his heart into it and he thought about it deeply. And so he got an answer. He got an answer inside of himself to do that because he's a very thoughtful, reflective person. And he doesn't take these kind of decisions lightly. So I know he put a lot of thought into it. And if his intuition or his feeling gave him the go ahead, then I trust that. And I honestly hoped that by him doing this, it would inspire other people to feel good about coming and talking about their experiences and do whistleblowing if they had to, because he talked about all the different things that had been set up for whistleblowers, how they'd established all these ways for them to come out and discuss programs safely through his contacts and different individuals. And he also talked about how isolating and lonely it has been on his journey. And so I really hoped that the people in this space would be supportive, and they were. The standards were just lifted in Twitter spaces, which was also kind of unprecedented because nobody was fighting. People that didn't get along with each other and had major beefs with one another, they were respecting everybody in order to let Jason have his space.
Look, that's cool. I agree with Courtney. And look, I was thinking about as I'm watching this, like, what a sweet person Courtney seems like. Let's be real, right? Like, I don't know her. I never met her. But she seems like such a sweet, innocent person, right? Same with Dave Scott over there. Cool guy, just look, guitar in the background, neon alien head, just fun guy. These people are just into this, want to know what's going on. They're getting told this story. It's a big deal to them. I think they're just along for the ride. So that is cool that Jason just got asked all these, and everyone was real polite to him, as far as I know, right? Very respectful. That is cool. I agree. That's how this should be. And so is this video. Nothing against Jason. I have nothing against Jason. Just making a video, just talking about this stuff, asking questions. I'm sure you don't think, one of two people, who hear this, one of every two people that hear this aren't having the same questions, right, about certain stuff and their own questions, right? This is a lot to take in just with no direct evidence, right?
So I thought that was miraculous, actually, and showed that we can work together and be kind to one another and not,
I agree,
fall into the mud pit.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the way people were, and I give credit to Rob Wood for running a very tight ship on that, because he wasn't allowing it to get out of hand, and he wasn't allowing it to go a little bit overboard. He wanted to give Jason Sands a time to sink or swim. Do you think, though, that a Twitter space or an X space was the proper place for Jason to come out first and foremost? Or should it have been in more a media-controlled environment? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know who would have been controlling, the media for him. Only he could speak to that, because I don't know. I know that he had a media plan, and it was going to be, very much the same of working with Grush and other individuals who are guiding him through the process. One of the things I think that we're not thinking about here is all the geopolitical things that are going on in the US right now. When I talked with my family about this and this unprecedented historic thing, they were all like, oh my goodness, and, very supportive. But then they said, if he didn't do this now, maybe he wouldn't have another opportunity to do it because of everything that's going on with Congress, in our politics right now, the election. And so that was another good point that they raised that I thought was very valid. If he didn't do this now, and if it didn't happen later, he never would have had the chance. So there's all these other things at play that we should carefully consider too, and what he was thinking in his mind, why he did it.
Right. And I think that's a good point on that. I mean, I didn't, I can honestly say I didn't think about the timeline. I didn't think about the timeline at all with everything that's kind of going on, and I just hope that, this isn't a one and done situation, because I think he's in that position where he's damned if you do and damned if you don't. But if we don't hear from him again, whether it's on Spaced Out Radio, whether it's on News Nation, whether it's on Fox, whether it's on Joe Rogan or whoever it may be, I think that is going to look a little bit not so good on his part. One and dones are never really a good thing when you have a lot of interesting information that you're bringing forward to the public.
Yeah, I know, but he did such a long space, hours long space. It was almost like he was testifying all over again as I was listening to it. He was answering to the general public. He was
Yes.
also answering the UFO community directly. And when have we seen that? Where have we seen that?
Oh,
So look, I think Dave Scott brings up a great point. One and done is just, there's nothing wrong with facing more questions. And Courtney makes a good point as well, but he's going to have to do that more. Basically, right? He's going to have to, right? I mean, so I can see both their viewpoints. All right, let's go to the next clip here from Jason himself. Now, there's something that was brought up called the 20 and back. All right? Just remember that term, 20 and back. We'll get to that in a minute.
I missed the first half of the space, but do you know much about 20 and back?
Yes.
Is that something you could talk about?
I'm not comfortable talking about it, but I served it. I was forced to serve in it when I was taken out of the program.
Okay, UFO Intros takes note of that because I talked about that on one of your spaces like 3 months ago, and you're like, "What's that?" So, and the only reason why I know, and I'm not trying to throw Intros under the bus, because this guy's taught me more than anybody. But it was one of those things that I learned of about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's just been stuck in the back of my mind. And it seems like a lot of people don't know about it, or just don't never even heard of it. The last thing I want to ask, and I'm not, I just need to ask to clarify my own brain.
Okay. I think 20 and back. I think it's time we talk about it because here we go. So, all right. Where do I begin? All right, there's a guy named Corey Good. All right, and let's just read this tweet here. Jason Sams claiming he was in the 20-year and back program. Corey Good, the original whistleblower to tell the 20-year and back story, having to admit in court that he made it all up and willfully did so because it was helping people. Okay, so basically, Jason saying he was a part of this program is not good. Right? Because, I'm about to tell you what the program was, but let's just know that it's a program. I'll get into more details about what it is, but just listen to this real quick. Hang on.
We can produce all sorts of people and information to where they claim that my information has changed their life in a good way.
Even though the information is false, it's having beneficial results with people that read it.
Well, I mean, people believe things that are false all the time.
But answer my question, even though the information is false, people are having beneficial reactions by reading it, correct?
Even though some of the information is a creation, people are getting benefit from it. We can produce all sorts of people and information to where...
So that's basically him, kind of admitting. Anyway, all right, let's... There's a link here to the full deposition so you can see that he talks about more about that, okay? But specifically the 20-year and back. And he's in a lawsuit right now with Gaia where he was a presenter, right, talking about certain things that he said on the show, and they're in this big lawsuit that's going on, okay? Hang on. Right here. Bring this up. What's going on here? All right, hang on. See what even my computer's like. Too much. Right here, Good versus Gaia. Right, there's a huge lawsuit, and it's crazy. One name that I found interesting on here, right, I'm sure you guys will see some more. But Christina Gomez, is that the Christina Gomez from the UFO world here? I don't know her, but her content's awesome, right? I don't know. That's interesting, right? So, not sure what that's about, but this is actually where the first time I heard about 20 and back is right here. Months ago, when a friend just sent me a video because he knew I hosted Vetted. It's like, dude, have you seen this video? And I watched it, and I thought it was just like, what the hell? You know? And when all this 20 and back came up and people were like, Corey Good, I was like, no, I've heard it somewhere else. This guy, Randy Kramer, and on Gaia again, right? And so just watch this. Let me read this first. So Randy Kramer, hybrid soldier, okay, for the SSP. Randy Kramer comes forward to tell of his experiences within the 20 and back program as a genetically and technologically augmented soldier. As part of his testimony, he submits to a polygraph examination and answers some challenging questions. Let's watch this preview, y'all.
Now, let's talk about the 20 and back program. There's not a lot of people out there that understand this. Let's get in the definition of that and how you were involved.
Sure. Well, again, I was deployed at 17 years old for a 20-year tour. So from 17 to 37, did my tour. And then when they bring personnel back to Luna Operations Command, they do what they call a memory wipe, but it's not a wipe, it's a suppression of memory. And they also do something they call an age reversal, but it's not actually an age reversal. They hatch out a clone body that's the same age when you left, and then transfer your entire consciousness into that clone and then stick you back, again, 15 minutes after you left. And so, again, the next morning, I wake up thinking I had a dream that was months and months or years long, and it's just like, well, that was really weird. And then just kind of had to deal with the recovery from that point on. But that's basically it.
Do you know the science, how that works, the shifting of consciousness into another living organism?
Well, since I wasn't awake for the process, I can only tell you what I've been told about the process. My understanding is that not to get too metaphysical, because as I understand, this is a very scientific thing, that our spirit and or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic. And being a quantum fluid dynamic means that it can be removed and put from vessel to vessel. So they can take your consciousness and your spirit being out of your body, put it into a temporary vessel, and then put it into another body or an alien even, or another species or whatever. But in this particular case, my understanding is they just put it into a younger clone version of yourself and then send you back so that you don't think anything happened, or that no one's the wiser anyway.
So there you go. Now, again, what I mentioned in my video yesterday, other parts of that, like he basically goes to Mars on this 20-year mission. He's working in the secret space program, and he's fighting aliens all over Mars. They've got thousands of bases, and, then he's on this, like, starship, like, flying around the, space protecting Earth, and, I don't know. I think even in the video somewhere, like the full video, he says something like it's like actually 18 years, not 20. I could be wrong, though. But just very interesting. All right, so we talked about that. So that's the 20 and back. And he's saying, Jason Sands is saying he was part of that. Is that the same program? Is there two programs called the same thing? I'm just saying, it's very weird. Again, you get cloned and sent back. So again, is Jason Sands a clone? Is that why he was confused when he was asked, like, is that your real name? Yes. Like, because he's like, well, technically I'm a clone. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into some more details from Jason about the NHI, the craft, some of that stuff.
So I'd give kudos to the DNI.
Okay, a couple more. Are there any specific details of the NHI craft in terms of propulsion, origin, where and when they were recovered, that any of the contacts within the programs have divulged to you?
Well,
that you can share?
Well, I don't want to give away any classified information, but
sure.
I would tell you, and I've been asked this before, that the pace of retrievals has been about 1 or 2 craft every 3 to 5 years. ever since the 1950s.
Okay.
Wow.
That's crazy. And a little bit further to that, are there confirmations that the propulsion
Okay.
methods of these craft are indeed anti-gravitation?
I just realized I was muted. Let me repeat that. My apologies. Everyone's going to be like, oh, my audio's not working. Gotcha. Okay, look, that should wake us all up. Let's all just take a breather. You've been watching for an hour, 10 minutes. Let's all laugh. Okay, boom. Let's get back to the video. What I was saying was, gosh, now honestly, I kind of forgot what I was saying about that. Hang on. Let me listen to a clip of it.
Wow, that's crazy. And a little bit further to that, are
the 3 to 5 years. Yes, David Grush, or crash retrievals every 3 to 5 years. David Grush was saying the same thing, which again, he supposedly is one of David Grush's whistleblowers. Okay, Jason Sands, right? And again, there's other parts to this interview, link in the description, that will make you think the same thing, right? So supposedly, allegedly, he is one of David Grush's whistleblowers, all right? Supposedly, allegedly, all right? So, all right, let's get back to this. Hilarious.
Are there confirmations that the propulsion methods of these craft are indeed anti-gravitationally based?
There are a variety of different types. As you can imagine, if there are other civilizations out there, just like we can have a hydrogen-powered car or gas-powered or electric, they likely have other forms of propulsion. Most of the ones I know of or had heard of are electromagnetic in nature, or some form of it in one way, shape, or another.
Excellent.
Okay, so interesting there, given his take on it. All right, next clip here again. Hang on here. This is more details about the interaction that he had.
Any public hearings moving forward that you would have no problem testifying?
I haven't. I've already offered that to Congress, and they know that I'm ready and I'm at their disposal.
Awesome. And then one last follow-up in regards to your telepathic communication with the NHI. Was it a brief exchange? What did he say that you comprehended quickly? Was it brief, or was it 5, 10, 15 minutes back and forth?
It felt like it was only like a very quick 5 minutes kind of conversation. However, I do have spots of missing time for that day. I suppose I could tell you guys a little bit more about that because it's not part of the film that's coming out. But
hell yeah,
Go ahead. The missing time, for some reason, after talking to him and him deciding that there was no need to continue the conversation, and went back to his.
The film he's talking about is James Fox's film, The Program.
Craft, and took off. We went on up to the Black Mountain in conversation, and him deciding that there was no need to continue the conversation, and went back to his craft and took off.
He's saying the alien went back to his craft and took off. Again, he's saying he didn't kill the blue alien.
On up to the Black Mountain, and I had a strange compunction, even though it was deathly cold out there, to go eat my lunch outside. And I don't remember. I remember walking about 150 yards down the dirt road from the schoolhouse, and then I don't remember much else after that. But I have these flashes of memory of a star map. I have a flash of memory of being about 150 foot above the schoolhouse and seeing the rooftop. And also being at the Community College of Nevada, where I was taking classes, because I had mentioned that when he was dissatisfied with me pointing him to, perhaps, some of the people in the program, maybe they can help you. And then he was like, no, I'm not going to go talk to them. They're barbarians and murderers. He was like, well, do you have any
Told
other
you.
suggestions? And I could only suggest that, well, there may be a metallurgist on staff at the college that I go to. And he
This is a conversation he's having with this blue alien? Like this normal conversation? This is interesting.
just said, where is that? So I have like another flash of memory where,
Hey, can you point me in the right direction for my UFO? How do I get there? Where is that?
I remember walking into my college with him and talking to some clerk at the desk about whether they had a metallurgist on staff on his behalf.
So you're
Wow. So, okay, look, links in the description, y'all, okay? Now let's move to the next clip here. We're going to get back to Courtney here with Spaced Out Radio and Dave. Yeah, y'all, this is a long video. Again, it's a deep dive. What do you expect? Okay. Here we go.
Is saying that Jason Sands was.
So again, they're saying they're let's go back here.
Juan is asking, Patrick Unvetted is saying that Jason Sands was ordered to kill the blue alien. I did not hear that.
No.
She's laughing, kind of like, no.
Let's go to Android. What exactly is he whistleblowing on? Reverse engineering?
He's basically saying, yes, that there are programs. And first of all, he said in the space last night, I mean, he said this to me too, but he repeated it in the space last night, that he was doing monitoring. He transitioned in one job over to another job. And his job while he was out there was to monitor different departments and to find leaks or problems, and then write up, reports, intelligence reports, and pass them on to his superior. And so one of the things that he is probably also testifying to, I mean, I saw this in the error report, that there was his testimony about overhearing a call, and he wrote a report about it, and there were other witnesses to it. So that also went to Arrow, that testimony.
Yeah. And when did he testify?
I think he testified. I'll have to go and double check. I think it was last year.
Interesting. Just saying. I don't think, again, this rumor floating around, I think she had heard that too. Maybe they put that out for misinformation. I don't know. For Nicole too. I'm not sure. I hope not. Again, people just talk. I don't think anyone should hold anyone to that. Like, oh my God, you're doing that. It's all crazy information out there. You can't verify any of these bits. Even Jason saying he didn't kill the blue alien. How do we really know that? We can't verify anything he's saying, good or bad. I'm still open-minded about this, but let's be real. We don't know what's real. Even if Jason Sands is who he says he is. We don't know anything. We just have some guy coming out in a Twitter space saying this stuff, and everyone just wants to believe it so bad. And I get it. Okay, I totally get it. But, this is a lot, because if by believing his story, you then believe a lot of the tangential stuff about his story. Therefore, you start going down that path. So it's a big deal to just sort of go all in on this guy's story. Got to be real careful, because it starts to connect to everything else. But to each their own, right? This is for everyone to decide. Hopefully this deep dive, if you've gotten this far, Jesus Christ, you're deciding on your own. And maybe you're just like me, you're just going to stay open-minded about it all. I'm still going to stay open-minded about him, but I am going to point out a lot of this stuff, just be fair about it, What can I verify? Right? Nothing. So all we can look for are the inconsistencies, right? But we can be fair about him, right? He has been nice, cordial. He did answer questions, right? There's a lot to it. He did serve. All of these things are true, but it's the fantastical parts, right? This one particular story and all this stuff about the program and 20 and back. I mean, there's a lot going on, right? So look, for example, he tweets out this. All right, let me show you this right here. He tweets out this. Basically, it's a certificate of release or discharge from active duty. That's all he tweets out. He doesn't say anything. He just tweets this out. That's it. Nothing else. So I don't know what it's meant to mean. It doesn't really say anything, but, does assert that he was in the military, right? I guess it does assert that that's his name, at least on here. Jason Theodore Sands, right? So I don't know. Anyway, link in the description. You can go further dig into it, if you want. All right, hang on. No, I got a couple more things, and then we're basically done. So, all right. Just saying, this is interesting. Mike Colangelo tweets out, Jason Sands' law firm. I have no idea what is going on. And then puts a link, right? And then here's a picture of Jason Sands, the whistleblower, right? And then, well, hang on. Let's go to the website. Here's the website. Sand Jason's law firm. Gives an address in New Jersey, right? And it's got an about us. Sands Jason Theodore. Why is his name backwards? And founded on a vision of excellence. Right? Had a vision of a law firm. Sands Jason Theodore, the visionary founder of our firm. Like, what's going on here? And this selfie, that's the picture. Right? And then, oh no. So, hang on. Let's go to the main, get to the main page. Right? So, this is Jason's, the whistleblowers. But these are, what's been pointed out on Twitter is that these are all fake lawyers. These aren't even real lawyers. So, like they're just stock images. I mean, they do look so, what are they, I don't know what's going on, man. It's like, what's going on, dude? That's all I'm saying. All right, let's go to the last thing. I told y'all at the end, if you stayed this long, you would get a treat. I'm going to give you a treat. Just going to play it. You listen, and we'll discuss to end this here. All right, let me just play it. It's a treat for you, for those of y'all that watch this far. By the way, this will be the video I'm going to make tomorrow will be about this. So this is basically a teaser for that. This is from, again, Steve, we talked about earlier, that is connected to Jason Sands with Courtney. Here we go.
So, so she, and one of the questions she did ask us, she asked us about Lou, right? And I don't know Lou, right? I don't know Lou, but I don't.
Lou Elizondo, that's who they're talking about.
I don't know Lou. Some others do that I spoke to, but I don't know him. But she said, why is Lou going around telling everyone they're a threat? And she said he knows they're not a threat. He knows because he's had contact with them. Okay. And so later, I was told that was true, that Lou has had contact.
So my video tomorrow, there's much more from this guy. This is a 2-hour sort of this is right before Steve or Jason Sands went public. Steve is connected, right? Initially, it was just supposed to be Steve is helping affirm Jason's story. That's why Steve is an important part. But again, I don't think Steve is his real name. He has this just brand new Twitter account that he made and whatever. But again, Jason Sands' Twitter account is also weird. It's just weird. If you check out his replies and stuff, it's just a weird account. I don't know. And Steve's is equally weird. Okay. And in the sense it's just brand new. He's talking. Look, I don't know anything. I'm sure he's a great guy. I don't know. I'm just saying these are interesting things. He's anonymous. He goes in his Twitter space and he drops this bomb about Lou Elizondo. Right. And Lou Elizondo's had contact with ET. And apparently that's going to come out in his book. So I don't know. Just thought I'd drop that bomb for you guys. And again, I'll be talking about that tomorrow in a full video, going over more parts of Steve's interview here that is, again, drops a bunch of stuff in here. So that'll be my video tomorrow. So anyway, that's a nice little teaser for y'all. Look, this has been a long enough video. I'm not going to hold it up any longer. Think what you want about Jason Sands. I hope this deep dive helped clear up anything. And, it is what it is. We're all just trying to figure out what's going on. And there you go. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift. Peace.